You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good. That line didn't just launch a blockbuster, it defined an era. But behind the black suits, the shades, and that slick alien hunting swagger lies chaos, near disaster, and real-life mystery straight out of the movie itself. Today, on Classic Hollywood, we're reopening the hidden file on Men in Black and uncovering 9 shocking secrets that could have erased the movie from history. So grab your neuralyzer, because after this, you'll never see Men in Black the same way again. Number 1. Will Smith almost said no to the phone call that changed film history. Imagine this. It's 1996. Will Smith has just conquered the world with Independence Day. The movie is massive aliens, explosions, global chaos. He's Hollywood's newest golden boy. But behind the scenes, Will is exhausted. He's done with saving the world from creatures with tentacles. The thought of signing up for another alien movie makes him cringe. When the script for Men in Black lands on his table, he barely glances at it. In his mind, it's just another aliens invade, hero saves the day kind of story. So he says no. Politely, but firmly. Then enters Jada Pinkett Smith, his girlfriend at the time, and a woman who has always seen his potential even before he does. She picks up the script one evening, starts reading, and by page 10, she's hooked. When she's done, she looks Will straight in the eye and says, "If you don't put on that black suit, somebody else will, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life." Will laughs it off, but something in her tone lingers. Days later, he gets a phone call. The person on the other end says, "Hi, Will, this is Steven Spielberg." Will rolls his eyes. He's sure it's a prank. Who just calls and says they're Steven Spielberg? So he plays along, joking, pretending, waiting for the reveal. But then the voice starts talking about Independence Day, about Will's performance, about his rhythm, that specific Spielberg cadence that only one man in Hollywood has. And suddenly, Will realizes it's actually him. Steven Spielberg, the man who redefined science fiction, is personally calling to convince him to join Men in Black. Spielberg doesn't waste time. He says, "Will, this isn't another alien movie. This is about style, mystery, humor. It's about the world behind the world. And you're the guy for it. And that's it. One conversation, one instinct, one leap of faith." Will Smith hangs up, looks at Jada, and says, "All right, let's do it." He signs on, and just like that, cinematic history pivots. That single decision gave birth to one of the most iconic partnerships in sci-fi comedy, Agent J and Agent K. But think about it, if Jada hadn't pushed him, if Spielberg hadn't made that personal call, we might never have heard Will Smith say, "You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good." A whole generation's pop culture moment, almost erased by one missed phone call. Number 2. Rip Torn's hidden scandal, the boss who worked around his court dates. Every time we see Zed, the cold, grumpy boss sitting behind that silver desk in Men in Black, he feels like the one man who's seen every alien disaster twice. Calm, unflinching, a little sarcastic. The kind of boss who'd fill out paperwork even if the universe was collapsing outside. But the truth? Behind that calm exterior was chaos. In the 4th week of filming, actor Rip Torn, the man playing Zed, was arrested for driving under the influence. He spent hours in jail before being released on bail. And suddenly, one of the key faces of the movie wasn't just a character on a soundstage, he was a headline risk. The problem wasn't the arrest itself. It was what came after. Court hearings, mandatory classes, public scrutiny, and all of this while Sony had millions on the line and a tight filming schedule that couldn't stop. Director Barry Sonnenfeld faced a brutal choice: shut down production and risk losing the movie, or find a way to film around Rip Torn's legal calendar. He chose the second. That decision meant rewriting Zed's role, not the dialogue, but the entire rhythm of how he appeared. Instead of frequent short scenes, Sonnenfeld condensed Torn's appearances into long, intense marathons, 4 days straight at a time. No breaks, no sleep, just Rip Torn delivering all of Zed's lines under the hot studio lights before heading back to court the next morning. The production team scrambled to cover the story. Sony's PR department released upbeat interviews with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, steering the press away from anything that could smell like scandal. And somehow, it worked. The headlines faded. The movie stayed on schedule. When Men in Black hit theaters, audiences had no idea that every Z scene was filmed between courtroom visits and legal hearings. They just saw that grumpy boss behind a desk, tired, irritable, fed up with the entire galaxy. And that's the irony. What looked like brilliant acting was, in part, very real exhaustion. Rip Torn wasn't just playing a man running the world's most secret agency. He was surviving his own crisis, quietly, efficiently, like a true man in black. Number 3. The Neuralyzer. Inspired by a Zippo lighter and born from fear. Think about this for a moment. When you picture Men in Black, what's the first image that flashes in your mind? It's not the aliens. It's not even Will Smith's grin. It's that click, the flash of light. The clean, metallic sound of a memory being erased. The Neuralyzer. It's one of the most recognizable props in movie history. And yet, almost nobody knows how ordinary and how unsettling its origins really are. Back in pre-production, director Barry Sonnenfeld wanted something that didn't look like a gun, or a gadget, or even a weapon. He wanted something that could exist in your own pocket, something that wouldn't feel dangerous until it was too late. He told the prop team, "It has to feel like something you've seen before, because that's what makes it terrifying." For weeks, the designers tried everything. Futuristic tubes, glowing wands, laser pistols. None of it worked. Every version looked like science fiction. But Sonnenfeld wasn't making science fiction. He was making a secret that looked ordinary. Then one of the prop artists pulled a Zippo lighter out of his jacket. That smooth silver body, the snap of the lid, that brief flash of light before it disappears. It was perfect. Sonnenfeld immediately saw the symbolism. A familiar object used every day that could suddenly change your entire world. He said, "That's it. Make it shine. Make it dangerous, but keep it familiar." The result was the Neuralyzer. Sleek, metallic, elegant, but terrifying in its simplicity. It didn't need spikes, buttons, or wires. It only needed a single, blinding flash. When audiences first saw that flash in 1997, it didn't feel like special effects. It felt real, because deep down, it looked like something they already trusted. And here's the eerie part, it worked too well. During early test screenings, viewers actually blinked or looked away every time the Neuralyzer flashed. The subconscious association was so strong that people reacted like they were being erased. The prop became an instant icon. And though it was designed for fiction, its psychology was chillingly real. The Neuralyzer teaches a subtle truth about power. The most dangerous tools don't look frightening. They look familiar. Number 4. Edgar the Bug. The monster that had to die to be reborn. Every great movie villain begins with an image. And for Men in Black, that image was unforgettable. A farmer named Edgar steps out of his house, looks up at the sky, and by the end of that night, something else is wearing his skin. But here's what most people don't know. The Edgar the Bug that made it to theaters was not the original monster. The one we all remember, stiff neck, too tight skin, that sickly human smile, wasn't supposed to exist at all. 3 weeks into filming, the first version of Edgar was complete. The makeup team had spent months building a creature suit complex, animatronics, heavy prosthetics, and a design that looked like every alien from every movie before it. Big claws, big fangs, big problem. When director Barry Sonnenfeld reviewed the early footage, his stomach dropped. It was wrong. Edgar looked too familiar, too Hollywood. He didn't feel real. Sonnenfeld said later, "I didn't want a monster. I wanted something that thought it was human." So he made a decision that would horrify any studio executive. He scrapped everything. 3 weeks of shooting. Thousands of dollars. Gone. Industrial Light and Magic was ordered to start over from scratch with only 9 days to rebuild the character. The entire creature design was thrown out, and a new version was created. Not a bug disguised as a man, but a bug wearing a man like a badly tailored suit. To sell the illusion, Vincent D'Onofrio dove deeper than anyone expected. He began studying insects, not how they move, but how they don't move like us. He tied bandages around his knees to stiffen his walk, hunched his neck, and kept his arms loose and lifeless, like he wasn't quite sure how to use them. Every step looked wrong, and that's exactly what made it perfect. By the time the cameras rolled again, Edgar had transformed from a cartoon villain into something disturbing and unforgettable. He didn't growl, he didn't roar, he just existed. Every motion felt borrowed. Every smile looked painful. Every gesture seemed 1 second away from tearing his own skin apart. And it worked. When audiences saw Edgar the Bug in theaters, they couldn't look away, but they also couldn't quite stand to look at him. He was revolting and magnetic at the same time. A monster that whispered instead of screamed. The irony? That eerie, unforgettable villain, the one who still crawls into our nightmares decades later, was born out of panic, exhaustion, and 9 sleepless days of redesign. Sometimes, the best monsters come from the moments when everything goes wrong. Number 5. The forgotten lead, the actress who vanished from Men in Black. Every movie you love has ghosts. Scenes that were erased, performances buried, names quietly removed from the credits. And for Men in Black, one of those ghosts was supposed to be the female lead. When audiences think back on the film, they remember Dr. Laurel Weaver, the cool, sharp coroner who handles alien corpses as if she's seen it all before. She doesn't scream. She doesn't faint. She just raises an eyebrow and gets back to work. That performance, calm, witty, deadpan, helped balance Will Smith's energy and Tommy Lee Jones's icy seriousness. But what most people don't know is that Laurel was never supposed to look or sound like that. Originally, the role was played by Sarah Jessica Parker. For nearly 2 full weeks, she was Laurel. The morgue scenes, the banter, the early chemistry tests, all done. And yet, something wasn't working. The problem wasn't Parker's acting. She was talented, professional, and precise. The problem was Will Smith. On set, Will was an improvisational tornado. He couldn't resist changing lines, adding reactions, cracking jokes in the middle of serious takes. It was electric. Audiences loved it, but it made the set unpredictable. Every scene felt alive, but for an actor used to structured, carefully rehearsed dialogue, it was chaos. Parker, known for precision and timing, started to freeze up. She'd prepare for one line, and Will would deliver something completely different. Soon, the chemistry on screen, the playful tension between Jay and Laurel, just wasn't there. It didn't feel natural. Director Barry Sonnenfeld faced a difficult choice. He could force the rhythm, or he could start over. He chose the second. And just like that, 2 weeks of work, entire days of shooting were erased. The studio scrambled to find a replacement, fast. That's when Linda Fiorentino entered the picture. The story of how she got the part sounds almost like a Hollywood myth. Sonnenfeld met her on a Friday. She got the call on Saturday. And by Monday morning, she was standing on the morgue set. No time to rehearse, no time to prepare. Where another actor might have panicked, Fiorentino thrived. She didn't fight Will's improvisation, she wrote it. Her dry humor and grounded tone became the perfect counterbalance to his chaos. Instead of trying to outshine him, she simply stood her ground, and the chemistry clicked instantly. In that tension, his energy against her stillness, the heart of Men in Black was born. And that's the irony of it all. The woman who defined one of the coolest female roles of the 90 seconds wasn't even supposed to be there. She arrived last minute, walked into a whirlwind, and became unforgettable. Meanwhile, Sarah Jessica Parker's scenes disappeared forever like a memory wiped by a neuralyzer. Number 6. The Neuralyzer Heist. Hollywood's most mysterious prop theft. You know that moment. The click, the flash, the silence that follows. Agent K lifts the neuralyzer, and in one bright pulse of light, an entire memory vanishes. It's sleek, elegant, and terrifyingly simple. But behind that flash lies one of Hollywood's strangest unsolved crimes. When Men in Black began filming, the studio treated the neuralyzer like sacred tech. Each one was a masterpiece, not a toy, not plastic, but a fully engineered prop. Real metal casing, motorized flash units, custom LED systems, and mechanical latches that worked exactly as they did on screen. Every movement had to be perfect. The open, the glow, the snap shut. 15 working neuralyzers were built in total. Each one cost $47,000, almost as much as a small car in the 1,990 seconds. And then they started disappearing. The first 3 vanished from a locked prop truck in New York. The police suspected an inside job, someone who knew when and where the truck would be parked. But before they could even finish the report, 2 more went missing, this time from inside Sony's own warehouse in California. By the end of the shoot, 7 neuralyzers were gone, almost half the total supply. At first, everyone thought it was a prank, maybe a souvenir snatched by a crew member. But then things got stranger. Rumors started circulating in underground collector circles. Authentic Men in Black props, not replicas, the real deal, began appearing for sale at outrageous prices. Tens of thousands of dollars. No serial numbers, no documentation, just anonymous sellers offering the most iconic weapon that never existed. Sony's legal department launched a quiet investigation, but they couldn't go public. The last thing the studio wanted was a headline that read, "Top secret alien device stolen from film set." So the thefts were buried, quietly written off as losses. Insurance covered part of it. The rest was left unsolved. To this day, not a single stolen neuralyzer has ever been recovered. Collectors whisper about them, maybe locked away in private displays, maybe dismantled, maybe gone forever. And here's the poetic twist. A device designed to erase memories disappeared without a trace. It's the perfect Men in Black irony. Hollywood lost millions, the props vanished into the shadows, and the world simply forgot, just as if someone had already pressed the button. Number 7. When the real Men in Black showed up the day the set went silent. Every good movie has a moment when fiction and reality blur. But for the crew of Men in Black, that moment came one quiet afternoon, when the real thing seemed to walk straight out of the shadows. It was mid-1996. The film was deep in production at a remote location outside Los Angeles, a warehouse that doubled as the MIB headquarters. Inside, crews worked on the massive glowing globe set-piece cables everywhere, alien models on stands, and that silver logo painted across the floor. And then, they arrived. 2 black cars, identical, spotless, unmarked, rolled right up to the studio gates. No one had called them. No one had scheduled them. From the cars stepped 3 men in dark suits, black ties, black sunglasses. They didn't flash badges, but they didn't have to. Their posture, their silence, their synchronized movement. It froze everyone on set. The assistant director thought it was a prank. The costume department thought it was a publicity stunt. But when one of the men introduced himself, everyone realized this was no joke. He said, "We're from the Air Force Office of Special Investigations." According to multiple crew members, they carried clipboards, asked for the production designer, and began examining the concept art pinned to the walls. They weren't interested in the actors, or the script, or even the alien designs. They were looking at technical blueprints, the designs of spacecraft, radar dishes, and propulsion engines that were drawn for background scenes. After several minutes, one of them turned to the prop master and said, "Where did you get these schematics?" The prop team froze. The designs had come from a mix of imagination and real NASA reference material. But apparently, one of the sketches, a saucer interior with strange tubing, looked almost too real. For 30 minutes, the men asked quiet, precise questions. Then, just as suddenly as they'd appeared, they thanked the crew, stepped back into their cars, and disappeared. No signatures, no cards, no explanation. When the director, Barry Sonnenfeld, heard what happened, he reportedly laughed and said, "If those were the real Men in Black, I'm officially terrified." The studio brushed it off as a coincidence, the Air Force checking for leaked tech references. But the story spread through the crew like wildfire. To this day, some of them swear that those men weren't from the Air Force at all. No one ever confirmed their names, and no record of that visit was ever found in Sony's archives. So maybe they were government agents. Maybe they were fans. Or maybe, just maybe, they were exactly who the movie was trying to warn us about. The real Men in Black. Number 8. The Man Who Wouldn't Smile. How Tommy Lee Jones built Agent K by force of will. Every great on-screen partnership has a secret rhythm. The spark, the tension, the thing that makes you believe two people could really survive the impossible together. For Men in Black, that chemistry was lightning in a bottle, the reckless charm of Will Smith against the stone-faced calm of Tommy Lee Jones. But what the cameras never showed was how painfully real that dynamic was behind the scenes. From the very first table read, Will was loose. Funny, unpredictable, cracking jokes between lines, tossing in ad-libs, changing the energy of every take. And Tommy Lee Jones? He didn't laugh. He didn't improvise. He didn't even smile. For 6 straight weeks of shooting, Jones stayed locked in character, dry, gruff, laser-focused. He treated the script like sacred text. If the line said yes, he said yes. Not yup, not uh-huh, not sure. Just yes. The crew started calling him the Wall. Even Will Smith couldn't break through it. According to Smith, he tried everything. He'd slip in jokes, do impressions, throw in wild reactions just to get Tommy to crack. Nothing, not even a smirk. One day between takes, Smith finally asked, "Tommy, are you ever gonna smile in this movie?" Jones turned to him, completely deadpan, and said, "Not if I can help it." But there was a method behind the coldness. Director Barry Sonnenfeld later explained that Tommy wasn't being difficult, he was protecting the film. He knew that if both agents were funny, the story would collapse. Someone had to be the anchor, the one person in the movie who didn't get the joke. Sonnenfeld said, "Tommy understood tone better than anyone. He knew that the less he reacted, the funnier Will became." And he was right. That contrast, Will's wild energy against Tommy's ice-cold stillness, became the movie's heartbeat. Without that balance, Men in Black would have been another sci-fi comedy lost in the 90 seconds. But because Tommy Lee Jones refused to bend, refused to break character, refused to smile, he gave the film something better than comedy: credibility. By the time filming wrapped, even Will Smith admitted it. He said, "I realized halfway through he wasn't the Wall. He was the mirror. Everything I did bounced off him and came back twice as strong. And in the end, that's what made Agent K unforgettable. Not his gadgets, not his one-liners, but his silence. The stillness of a man who'd seen too much, said too little, and somehow made that restraint feel larger than life." Tommy Lee Jones didn't need to smile. He let the movie smile around him. Number 9. The scene that made Will Smith walk off set the autopsy from hell. Every blockbuster has that one scene everyone remembers. For Men in Black, it's the autopsy scene. A morgue filled with cold metal tables, flickering lights, and bodies that look just wrong enough to feel real. It's gross. It's funny. It's unforgettable. But here's what audiences didn't know. That scene was so real. Will Smith almost quit the set. When director Barry Sonnenfeld planned the autopsy sequence, he wanted the moment to feel tactile, something you could smell just by watching. So instead of using plastic props or fake silicone guts, he made a choice no one expected. He ordered real animal organs, cow intestines, kidneys, a real liver, even stomach lining, all brought straight from a slaughterhouse into the studio. Under the blinding heat of the lights, the smell turned unbearable within minutes. The air became thick, heavy, like something rotting in real time. Linda Fiorentino, who played Dr. Laurel, had to perform the entire scene right in the middle of that horror. Her gloves were slick. The organs were still warm. Every slice, every squelch, all of it was real. Within the first hour, 2 camera operators had thrown up. 1 sound technician fainted. The special effects team had to constantly spray disinfectant just to stop people from gagging. Will Smith walked in, took one whiff, and said, "Nah, man, you gotta be kidding me." Then he left the set. It took Barry Sonnenfeld and the producers almost an hour to convince him to come back, promising they'd ventilate the space and limit his time inside. But even after that, no one could unsmell it. To make it worse, the production hadn't secured the right sanitation permits for using real biological materials on set. When the health inspectors found out, the studio was fined and the set had to be professionally decontaminated before filming could continue. The scene that lasts less than 3 minutes on screen took an entire day of filming and left a smell that lingered for weeks. Looking back, Will Smith later joked, "That scene cured me of ever wanting to be a doctor." But what no one can deny is that it worked. Every time you rewatch that autopsy, your stomach tightens just a little, because even without knowing why, your brain recognizes the truth. You're not looking at special effects, you're looking at the real thing. And that's what made it iconic. From stolen props to real cow guts, Men in Black wasn't just a movie. It was a miracle stitched together from chaos, luck, and last-minute genius. So the next time you hear that neuralyzer click, remember, behind every perfect scene in Hollywood, there's a story almost too wild to believe. This is Classic Hollywood, where the legends you love come back to life. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the truth about Hollywood's greatest stories is never as simple as it looks.